beautiful Thailand and everything like that. And I've been out here. I hope you guys can hear me good. It seems like every time I try to do one of these videos, the volume is always crazy or something happens with the audio. It's just my luck. But at any rate, I just want to, talk to you and keep it real about my experience as a 50 plus year old. I came here probably when I was 48, 49 to Southeast Asia. And and now I'm 51. So just want to tell y'all about exactly my experience. I'm American. That's first of all. So let's make sure you understand there's a distinction between American and other black or dark skinned people. And they believe me, they do make a distinction. Um, Two, I'm on a fixed income that has an effect as to how your experience is going to be anywhere you go. Okay? So you can't, a person who's not on a fixed income who can spend money willy nilly as they want to, um, they're not going to have the same experience. If you're in your 20s and 30s, maybe even into your 40s, it may be a little bit different. If everybody's experience is going to be different, but it's very different between a 50-year-old and a 20-something-year-old. So a 20-something-year-old's experience is going to be completely different than how it is when you're in your 50s. That's something important for y'all to be aware of, because that's really a fact of anything in life, any experiences in life, that you have traveling abroad or traveling anywhere. So you must be aware of that. You know what I'm saying? Two is that I'm of dark complexion. What I want you, and you're gonna hear this be a reoccurring theme in this conversation because um, what a lot of people want to ignore or not want to talk about is the elephant in the room, which is that dark complected people, the darker you are, due to colonization, and if you do any studying, you know that to be a fact, that any place in the world you go, especially those places who have been changed their religions to Catholicism or Christianity, or if they've been colonized by European states, subliminally and subconsciously, they already believe, and that includes African countries and states too as well. They subliminally believe that being of darker complexion is a curse or is a bad thing. So you have to understand that any place you go where people have that kind of state of mind will always think that when they see a darker complected person, that they're on the low side of the totem pole for whatever reason. Sometimes it could be a situation where they have come from a society where colorism is such a big deal. Where in Southeast Asia, colorism is a big deal. If it wasn't, there wouldn't be a lot of bleaching cream and stuff like that, you know. And there is a lot of bleaching cream here, almost everything. And there's also this, so you have to be aware of that. So let's first talk about money. If you don't have a certain kind of money, when you come to live as an expat in any other country, whether that's going from Europe to America, America to Europe, Asia from America, America, all of those things play a big part. You know what I'm saying? You have to be aware of all of those things and how much does it cost of living for you wherever you live, wherever you're going to. So that's a big thing. Also, there's the classism issue. So, was this third eye eagle, at least the one I had there. So the there's a classism issue. You have to remember that in most societies, you certain people are perceived to be lower class. For example, if you bleach your skin then and you look really, really pale, they think that that's a higher class. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be aware that when time you're in a society where people bleach their skin heavily, that they think dark skinned people are less and light complected people are higher. So just be aware that when you go, because you're going to experience a lot of staring. Like it doesn't matter wherever I go, you can always tell how the mind frame of the parents are because the children behave the way that they're being taught. Because like many times, most of the time, almost every day where I walk around, the kids grab their parents as soon as they see me. People who saying that they don't, I don't know what they're trying to be delusional, because you got to understand, especially if you're black and you come from America, it's in many regards it's so bad as far as the racism, especially growing up. If you're a 70s baby, I'm 50 years old, I experienced this since I was a kid. When you come from that kind of experience of mistreatment and segregation, and teachers putting you in lower grades, and we come in America, we used to get hit with a paddle, with a piece of wood at a young age. So you come from those kind of environments, you think that anything outside of that is better. So a lot of times when you see people come here and they bragging and they're black, it's because they came from a society that's so much worse that they much rather be, what I'm saying, much rather be here. You know what I mean? So that's the situation. So and overall, it is better, but you just can't ignore some of the facts. For example, how much does it cost to live? Yes, yes, it's exponentially cheaper to live in Southeast Asia if you're coming from a country where your currency is much better, is much higher, and much more powerful than Southeast Asian currency. But you have to live at a moderate rate. You can't be living like you super rich and you out blowing money at the malls, and you're out. All of those things are going to cost you just as much money as it would be in the United States. If you go to the Louis store, the Gucci store, in the malls in Southeast Asia, it's going to be the same price as the malls in America. So don't lie to yourself and don't fool yourself into thinking that it's like that, because in the end of the day, it's all the same thing, right? Um, just be aware of that. It's not going to be any cheaper if you don't live cheaper. If you start living on a more expensive level, then you're going to be, if you start living high luxury, like some of the places where I'm at, you can see swimming pools and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. I don't know if you can see that. We have different. This is nice. But the reality is that if you don't temper your money, you don't watch how you spend, you could easily overspend out here, just like you could overspend any place. So you have to be careful about that. Yes, rent is cheap. I pay $315 a month for a studio apartment that has three infinity pools, a full size 2,000 square foot gym. Plenty of food outside. Within one block is all kind of food and market stuff. Yes, 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 that's true. But um, if I'm going out shopping every day and stuff like that, that money can add up and counter, because sometimes we think we're saving so much money on the apartment that we can afford to go do other things and spend money on things that are not necessary, right? Um, many of us would go spend money on steaks and stuff like that and whatnot. So you just have to be aware that it's not necessarily going to be a place where you're not going to have people eyeballing you if you're black, and stuff like that. People are going to. If you're dark complected, people are going to. Even dark complected Indian people, they'll come here and then look at you and be like, oh, they, because they come from a caste system, so in their mind they still think that Caucasian or white color is way better than being dark complected. So and you can see that even in America. When they come to America, they treat you like they're so eager to try to be next to people who are fair complexion. Same thing, like you get on the elevator in Southeast Asia, a lot of times people will get in the corner and act, especially if it's a female, because in their mind they think that black men come to Asia for Asian women. I have news for you, for anybody who think that, is that a lot of times it's not even the case. They really just come because the cost of living is better and they have a higher quality of life. It's just that men will naturally gravitate to any woman in any environment that they're in. You know what I'm saying? And so they don't really care about where you're from, because men who just like women just like women. You know what I mean? And so you just have to be. But in their mind, oh, you're dark and I bleach my skin and I'm fair, so you must want to like me. When the reality is that's not the case. I found that many of the men might not even really find most of the women that they're around attractive. It's just that they're men and they're women. So men and women naturally by biology come together. Um, a lot of people overlook that fact. The second thing is that let's talk about healthcare for a minute. Healthcare is pretty good. Some people are going to say, "Oh, what is this?" Oh, I don't know what that means. Um, there's a lot of pigeons things. I'm not sure what pigeons, but at any rate, just something you just have to deal with wherever you go. The healthcare system is very good in Southeast Asia in certain areas, so it just depends on where you're at in Southeast Asia. Like I got a crown in Vietnam, which would have cost me 1,400 US. It cost me $100 USD in Vietnam. How you gonna beat that? You know what I'm saying? How you can't beat that price. The apartment I stay in here is $315. How you gonna beat that? You can't beat that. The food I eat is $3 a meal in general. How can you beat that? And I'm not a little dude, as you can see. You know what I'm saying? I'm not little. You know, so I eat. So my average meal is $3 to $5. So how you gonna beat that? You really can't. Healthcare system is very good, but you gotta go to the high end hospitals to get the standard that you're used to if you're coming from the West. Don't come to Asia thinking that you're going to go to the local hospitals and pay almost nothing and get the same service that you're used to in the West. That's just not the way it goes. The reality is that most people who come from the West will end up going to do you speak the language? Oh, so basically I try to speak as much of the language as possible, but I don't speak it fluently or anything like that. My intention was to join a school and go to education. Thing. But you will hear that as a reason why. For instance, like I went to get a tattoo, and as soon as the lady opened the door, she just looked me up and down and said, "No." Now this is somebody who I looked up online. People showed people getting tattoos. She didn't ask me how much. She didn't ask me what I want. She didn't do nothing. She just looked me up and down and basically immediately said she didn't want to give me a tattoo. She didn't want me coming in her business. So a lot of people won't talk about that. They'll just say, "Oh, that's just maybe it was just." They'll make any kind of reason. They won't say what it is. Basically, it's appearance, how I looked, and what things about me make a person say no immediately without knowing. I don't look like I can't afford a tattoo. I already have tattoos, so clearly I'm used to getting them. So what other reason would a person who does tattoo as a business in a tattoo shop immediately come outside and be like, no? See, these are things that a lot of people won't talk about because they either don't experience, deny the fact of their experience, try to ignore it and act like it doesn't exist because people don't want to face that that's how people treat you here sometimes in Southeast Asia. For example, when I was in Malaysia, every time I go around to restaurants or stores in Kuala Lumpur, a lot of the people would be asking, they've been watching them TikTok videos. Oh, maybe they have. I don't know. I don't know what they're Maybe they think we're dangerous or something like that. That's what one guy said when I told him. He said they think that black people are dangerous and that we're going to do something to them. He said maybe that's why the lady didn't let you in her store. See, that's the kind of stuff that nobody talks about. You know, I'm telling you what my experience was. People can make up or would rationalize why a person would treat you that way or stuff like that. I've had really, by far, most of my experiences are good, but that's because I keep them light and I don't get too heavy, you know. But but in general, I think that there's definitely this undercurrent of disdain for people of a darker hue, and you cannot escape that. Even the kids, you see how they react as soon as they see you. They grab their parents, run over to them. They scared. This lets you know that that's not something that's they learned by themselves. Somebody's teaching them that. I just experienced it less than 10 minutes ago. As soon as the kids see me, grab his dad, and based on what? It can only be because of the way I look, and because something in the energy of the family is saying that if you were get around them, they grab the kid, so it makes them feel uncomfortable. So that's even when I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur. A lot of I'm assuming these people were from India because it wasn't the Malaysian people. There definitely would had to be probably India people or people from an area like that. Every time I went into the restaurant, they would ask me, "Am I from Africa?" As though that matters. You know what I'm saying? You do have expat communities, but I don't go to expat communities because I didn't come to another country just to go be around the same people who I didn't really socialize with when I was in America. So, some people go be around the same people or try to be around people that look like them and act like them and behave like them. But I was not a big person who needed to be around a bunch of people when I was in America. So, and many of the stuff that people did in America, I wasn't into. So, for example, if you're not into sports and you're a man and you go around a bunch of dudes, and you have nothing to offer most of the conversation because most of them are going to be talking about sports at some point in time. If you go around the expat community and they ask you about your political affiliation, but you don't care shit about politics, guess what? That's going to cut you off from a bunch of other people. Then you got the people who are overly religious who come around you, and the first thing they start trying to preach to you about Jesus. But if you ain't a religious person, guess what? That's another thing that they're going to cut you out. That's going to cut you. So then you find yourself realizing that you don't really want to be around none of those people because you really have nothing to talk about with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why I don't overly socialize in expat communities because there's really no point. You know what I mean? There are some things that on an individual level that if I meet you as a person and I learn about you and we get to know each other, then that's different. But as far as the expat communities and events and stuff like that, I avoid them because in general I probably won't have much in common with most of them anyway. So if that was the case, I probably wouldn't have left America. It's because the mentality of most people is one that I want to avoid being around. And the assumption is that when you come abroad, that these people have a completely different mentality, when the reality is awfully different. They literally bring the mentality that they had in the United States or wherever they're from right to the new place and act just like they acted where they were from. Their belief system didn't change. Their political mindset didn't change. And I'm guilty of that too because when I first came here, my mind was all about what was happening back in the West. When reality is who cares? You're not there anymore. It doesn't matter. It wasn't the purpose of you leaving was so that you could forget about all the bullshit and come and live someplace where you can finally decompress. And that's the idea here. That's the idea. And that's what I like people to know and see as an expat, as an older person. You do need to, I guess you do need to find community, but my idea is to find community slowly. Develop my own community of people who I like to be around. I don't go to parties and things like that to be around a bunch of people who I really don't probably want to be around. But so you can also basically we covered housing. Housing is cool, good price. You got a good environment like this. It's really nice. Now let you guys see. You know, hear the wind, it's pools and stuff like that. You know, I ain't even showing y'all, but I mean, if you look at some of my videos, you'll see. Um, but it's a lot of that. It's really good for the price. If you're able to save up a certain amount of money and then get up and just leave, and if you're able to bring in a small income, then you can come live this life. You know what I mean? Add a question and answer sticker. They asked me to do that. But if you guys got any questions, we're at 20 minutes. I generally don't do this that much, so I just thought I'd go live and just check it out and stuff like that. And if you guys want to post up any questions or make any comments and stuff like that, or check out my page, subscribe if you think that this kind of information could help you. But yeah, I mean, generally, this is what it is. This is going to force you to face yourself. That's the thing. A lot of people will join communities and then forget that this is a time to remove yourself and get to know yourself. And a lot of people come out and they spend all their time around other people so that they never have to spend time with themselves, right? That's the thing. When you come out and do this, the objective is to grow internally. That's the whole point of this whole experience. Life experiences are not who you meet, it's more about who you become. So a lot of people come to these different environments and they spend all their time with other people so that they don't have to stop and say, let me judge me. Because that's the problem that they have. They don't really want to take that microscope and that power of observation and point it at themselves. And that's the key. People don't really like to have to point the finger at themselves. They want to spend more time judging others. That's why Abrahamic faiths is so powerful, because they spend more time looking at people outside of themselves. Eastern philosophies spend more time looking at themselves, looking at who they are as a person. How can I be better? So that's what I like about being over in Asia, because in general, you're supposed to be looking at yourself. The reality is people are judging because that's what people do anyway. It doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't, people are going to be people. People are going to dislike people for no reason. People are going to like people that they like. People are going to be looking for similarities in the other individual. People are going to try to find common ground. People are going to be people no matter where you go. If you think that you're going to go to a country and people are just going to all love you, that's not a reality. You know what I'm saying? That's just not a reality. If you think you're going to go to a country and that, everything's going to be peachy and perfect, that's not a reality. If you think you're going to go to a country where there's not going to be hatred, racism, classism, colorism, that's not a reality. I travel around. I've been in more than 30 plus countries in my life so far. And I actually plan on it being a lot more by now. But I've come to the realization that no matter where you go, you got people that hate you just on sight. I'm in Thailand. I might go to the 7-Eleven, and some people that do just like white people in America. They'll try not to touch your hand. And I'm sorry, man. That's just the reality. You know what I'm saying? If you think that that's not going to happen, shame on you. You got people that's gonna get up against the wall in the elevator and try to avoid touching you, or then they'll put their hands over their mouth because they think that breathing the same air as a black person somehow is going to make them be, I don't know, maybe it's because they think it's going to make them black or something. I don't know what that is, but you're gonna have to deal with that. You know, it's not no different than being in America in some cases, you know. So don't think that going to other places you're going to escape that kind of behavior. You're not. You know what I'm saying? People are going to be ignorant, childish, immature, and then you're going to have brilliant, smart, great people. So that's just life, you know. What you're looking for is the cost of living and the quality of life. That's the what you're mainly looking for. And just try to drown out the noise of the immaturity and silly people and gravitate toward the positive and people who are motivational and moving you in the right direction. You know, so that's the objective in life out here. And see as much as you can, experience as much as you can before you leave this existence that they call life. That's it. That's it, man. And that's all you can do while you out here. And then when I say out here, I just mean, so if you guys got any questions, hit me up, check out my page, check out, like, subscribe or whatever if you're into this type of thing, expat living. I don't know where I'm going next. Um, I'm just checking out where I'm going to be going, and I've been to most of the places. If you guys are in the Philippines, if you like the Philippines, let me know because I'm interested in Philippines. If you're in Singapore, let me know because I'm interested in going to Singapore. Right now, I've already been to Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, Kuala Lumpur, Cambodia. I've already been to Indonesia, So I've been to a couple of the places out here. The only places I really want to go to next is uh, going to I want I really want to go past Australia and go over into Papua New Guinea and places like that, but I'm not ready for that yet. Plus, I can't figure out how the cost of living works over there yet. It seems like it's not going to be affordable. But y'all let me know. Comment if you've been living over in like Tahiti. I visited Tahiti, but I couldn't figure out how to live there, and in places like that. But at any rate, the only places that I haven't been over here in this immediate area is the Philippines, that I want to go to, Singapore that I want to go to. So if you guys have a living in those two places and stuff like that, let me know because I definitely want to go do that. Like I said, I've been to all of these other places. Thailand, I'm in Thailand right now. Malaysia, I've been to Kuala Lumpur. Cambodia, I've been to Angkor Wat. I've been to Vietnam. I've been to Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. Bali, Indonesia. I want to go to Jakarta in Indonesia, but I haven't been yet. But again, like I said, man, it is a great cost of living. If you love Caribbean weather, that's what you get all day long. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got pools and stuff like that. I'll let you see. That's my view. One of my views. We have three pools. Playgrounds. I'm on the ninth floor in my building. So this is just one of the views, and just one of the views in the day in the life of living as an immigrant here, with using the power of the finances of America, the money of America. The real kicker in if you guys want the cheat code is find the currency that you're in, that you make money in, and live in a currency, a society that's currency is lower in value. That's the cheat code. That's the part that ain't nobody really just saying openly. Live in a place where the currency is less valuable than the place that you're making money in. Somehow, the only way you can do that is usually you have to be able to work online and make money online. So, y'all just think about that, man. I hope I was helpful. Mr. Cosmic, I'm on TikTok, Train Travel Trade. If you want to come holler at me, leave me some messages and stuff like that. If you got some questions, comment below. I appreciate you. I thank you for stepping in and stopping in. And those who added anything positive to the conversation, like Stovecraft 8, thank you. I appreciate the questions and stuff like that, and stepping in and saying what's up. And thank you. Have a great day. If you got any questions, send me a message. I'll talk to y'all later. Okay? Bye.